अस्सलाम वालेकुम क्लास। सो टुडे वी आर गोना डिस्कस चैप्टर 19 तवर्रुक। ओके, इसके ऊपर हम बहुत ज़्यादा डिटेल में नहीं जाएंगे बिकॉज उसके ऊपर अभी बहुत ज़्यादा काम हुआ नहीं है और उसके ऊपर अगेन डाउट्स हैं। इसलिए हम सारे जो फिके हैं उनके बारे में, जो जूरिस्ट हैं उनके बारे में, उनका ओपिनियन इसके बारे में प्रोवाइड कर देंगे। ठीक है। तवरुक बेसिकली मींस टू बाय अ क्रेडिट, बाय ऑन क्रेडिट एंड सेल एट स्पॉट वैल्यू। ठीक है ना, कि क्रेडिट पे एक चीज खरीद लो और स्पॉट वैल्यू के ऊपर उसको बेच दिया जाएगा। ठीक है। दिस ट्रांजैक्शन इज नाउअडेज बीइंग यूज्ड बाय मेनी इस्लामिक बैंक्स फॉर लिक्विडिटी मैनेजमेंट एंड एज अ मोड ऑफ फाइनेंसिंग, स्पेशली फॉर पर्सनल फाइनेंसिंग, या जैसे कि क्रेडिट कार्ड की फाइनेंसिंग है उसके लिए। तो ये जो आगे अब सारा डिस्कशन आने वाली है, ये बेसिकली जो जस्टिस मोहम्मद तकी उस्मानी के एक पेपर में से ये चीजें ली गई हैं और अरेबिक पेपर है उसमें से इसको ट्रांसलेट करके आपके लिए प्रोवाइड किया गया है। Tawarruq is an agreement whereby a person in need of liquidity purchases a commodity from a seller on credit and at a higher price. The person who acquires the commodity in this way is called a mutawarrik. The difference between inna and tawarka is that mutawarrik sells the commodity to a third party, while in inna the buyer resells it to the same seller from whom he has bought the commodity. There are two versions reported from Imam Abu Ahmad ibn Hanbal about the permissibility of tawarruk. The majority of the Hanbali jurists have preferred the version according to which tawarruk is permissible. However, in Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Qayyim have held tawarruk as impermissible. The Shafi jurists have allowed inna, and therefore it seems that tawarruk is permissible with them with a greater force. The Maliki jurists are very strict about inna, but it appears from their books that they do not see a problem in tawarruk. Some Hanfi jurists of later days have held that tawarruk is inna, hence makruh. But the majority of the Hanafi jurists have preferred the view of Ibn al-Humam that inna is restricted to the situation where the commodity comes back to the original seller, but where the commodity is sold in the market, the transaction is valid and permissible. However, lending money without interest is more preferable. Thus, the preferred view in all the four schools of Islamic fiqh is that tawarruk is permissible. However, lending without interest is more advisable. This is the position with regard to the original concept of tawarruk, but the ruling may change if the transaction is infiltrated by some other elements. If the bank appoints the mutawarrik himself as its agent to purchase the commodity on behalf of the bank, then to sell it to himself, this transaction is invalid. However, if the bank appoints him as an agent only for the purchase of a commodity on behalf of the bank, then once it is purchased, the bank itself sells it to the mutawarrik through a proper contract with offer and acceptance. The transaction is valid but not advisable. If the mutawarrik, after purchasing the commodity from the bank, appoints the bank as his agent and sells it to the in the market to sell it in the market, and this agency is stipulated in the contract of sale or as a condition, the transaction is not valid. However, if the agency was not a condition in the sale contract and it has been effected after unconditioned sale, the transaction is valid but not advisable. If tawarruk is carried out through the international commodity exchange, it is vulnerable to many violations of the Sharia because many conditions of a valid Islamic sale may be lacking. However, if all the conditions of a valid sale are properly observed, the transaction may be valid, but its extensive use is not advised. ठीक है, so basically it is allowable, लेकिन जरा ज्यादा प्रेफर नहीं किया, स्पेशली इसके ऊपर जो इंटरेस्ट चार्ज करने की पॉइंट है वो उस वजह से अलाउ नहीं किया, इसलिए इसके ऊपर हम ज्यादा फोकस भी नहीं कर रहे। सो दैट्स इट फॉर टुडे। थैंक यू वेरी मच एवरीवन। अस्सलाम वालेकुम।